Well, good morning, Shooter. Hey, we're going to go over risk on, risk off here going into Friday. Please do review our disclosures at the end of this presentation. Barring some kind of catalyst, I'm not seeing here. I think our high is in at 417.97, and I think we're going to head down towards this 359.16. Equality for me is that speed line down there where those prior legs mix as far as this particular push up often are elongated. So I would expect that we tag that line somewhere around here. And this speed line down here, of course, is always important. So, our range on this time frame is, we got a 479.98 high and a 319.80 low is about where we are. I don't think we break below that 319.80 area. If we do, God, it's Armageddon. At that point, I just don't see that, but I'm not going to exclude it because that would look something like this as far as the breakdown, probably somewhere around 260 to the downside. So, that's pretty deep. I'm not mentally looking at that at this point, only because where my RSI structure is. Right now we're tagging 30. That would mean that we would confirm. I would think we'd have to get down to maybe an 18.3 on the RSI, which would be pretty deep, pretty oversold. I think we have to have a catalyst in addition to what we have, like World War III starts, something like that. All right, let's take a look at the NASDAQ. NASDAQ, we got this ABC in play here, so we should come down to about 293.33 and bounce to about 336, and then we head in. So we got a diagonal at that point that we should do a nice flush on the NASDAQ back down to about 267. Now diagonals are very unpredictable, so I always come into them with an open mind because there's nothing that says we put this two in, and quite often when you have a diagonal and you get to the 50% back like we have here, they fail and they turn into an impulse. So they're not as clean as, for example, taking a B short or an A long or trading off of a 5 is an example. There's certain things that I have higher conviction on, and leading diagonal are not one of them, and they're very difficult to predict, and they quite often push too. We may push up this far before it breaks down, which is always where I get caught up on diagonals because you just can't predict where they're going to go. They're just too emotional. All right, let's take a look at the Dow. Now, the Dow, it looks constructive here. The count says we're in. However, when I come down on the daily and I run correct scans, it implies that we are going to break down to maybe about 291. Now I've got some counts that have been way down here on different time frames. So, at this point, my conviction comes in. We close below that 322.69. It's a good reason to get short. And, I like the downside here because, you got quite a decent move off of an ABC down, if that's what it is. And now this is another diagonal that's saying we're going to come back in and put a top here as well. So we got counts all over the place. But what I like too out of the Dow is this potential 5-wave down that I have coming off this top here. So hold on a second. I've got to get the right wave up. It's easier when the app draws it for me, but it won't manually. I can create it. So an impulse wave down would bring us down to about 247. So, the first important line is that speed line at 299.55 would have to break for us to go there. Right now, I'm just looking for a shallow 5-wave down to that speed line and then maybe a bounce because I don't see it in RSI yet because we have this confirmed low here. This candle here was confirmed. This candle was divergent, so this was an XABC. So when I throw a harmonic pattern up here into the count, it tells me we're to the upside. So, I have a little mixed signals coming from the Dow and whether or not it is going to come off. But I do have some conviction to that speed line. I would say that. So, close below the breakdown line that we're at it. So close below 322.69, work to take it short. Target 318s, don't go too deep, or maybe somewhere in the middle, about 313. I'd stick to puts, but you could also sell some 335s if you wanted to, some covered calls. If you have some kind of position in the Dow. Let's take a look at IWM. Now, this is the first constructive looking IWM chart I've had in a while. It says our primary wave's in. So, I would think that, we need some kind of catalyst to push us to the downside. We have, a confirmed low, a divergent low again, just by a smidgen, and we really have, they're really high and tight there. So, that usually is indicative of a bottom. So, at this point, I think that 3 is, 194.34, and then we back test that 182.84, which roughly is what we're doing. It's running a little shallow. So now, again, I'm going to come back to my Fibonacci's and how I've attached those to Elliott waves. And, my rule is close below the 78.6. I'm looking for continuation. Where are we? We're right at 78.6. So we close below that again, that would reenact that. And then this alt count would open up. So there's a very good possibility that we don't get that upside. With overall market weakness, I could see IWM still coming in a little bit lower, but it does have a constructive look with the confirmed low and a higher low, from a larger time frame. It definitely looks better than it did right here in this range, where it looked like it was, wild-eyed coyote. It was staring over the cliff kind of thing. Let's take a look at TLT. I'm just going to say no man's land. I mean, it's almost like it's pegged. We have a confirmed low here. So this was our confirmed low. This is a divergent low. So we could get one more 3, or that could be an XABC down there to the upside, which is probably what it is. Not seeing it on the weekly. I have no pattern on the daily. Okay, so yeah, so here's the XABC down on the 4-hour. So that measures maybe to 111, 110. Which I would think is viable, to the downside. However, harmonics on the larger time frame actually support this leg up, but I don't see it coming in. We got 62 million in volume, and this sell candle, is indicative of continuation for me. Now this buy candle right here on here is indicative of continuation for me. It's just like if we've got this buy candle here, indicative of some type of continuation for me. So this sell implies to me that we might break down a little bit further. So we may get that 105 that we were looking for a couple of weeks back, but I don't have any convictions to jump on board. I would really rather see us get up here at this 1 and then get rejected just because of how this plateaued. It even wasn't like this 2 here. We got this 3, 4, 5. So I mean, it's an ending of the end of a 5 wave. So there's really not that much room. They can be really shallow. So, I mean, this could just wick down and give us 1 point below the 3 and, hey, we're done. And then we go to the upside. So I don't have any conviction short here. I'd rather have a back test to 50% of this leg, because then that gives me some conviction because, anytime Elliott wave, what it measures is the euphoria of buyers and sellers. So when you get to reversion to the mean or the extreme, in other words, where seller exhaustion occurs here, okay, or buyer exhaustion occurs here, then it's like you build up this force so you can get that push going in the other direction. So unless we get a back test 50%, we really don't have the push. We don't have the volume coming in, the conviction of the buyer or the seller, depending on which side you're on, really to drive it. So you end up in this chop zone. So, TLT could be chopping around here 5. I mean, we could put it here flat here. We would be out here for 3 months. I don't think we will be, like this little breakdown right here, this leg down here. I mean, we could do something like that is very viable, or something like this. So we could have 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks here that just eat away at premium. But I mean, the brave soul could try and sell short-term, 110s maybe, and probably do well with it, or come up to the high side and maybe sell short-term 120s or 125s. If the premium was decent. Now, I've not looked at those. That's just my thought. It could be a way to generate a little cash. I mean, if you were desperate for cash. But at this point, we still have the primary wave set up. We have a 90-minute trigger. Let me just check and see. We did not get a daily trigger yet. So we're still looking at that count. I don't have a lot of conviction for that to manifest. And again, Elliott wave does not have a time frame attached to that. So it's sort of no man's land to me. What I have this week, folks, great trading. Until next time.